Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's the Story? I'm your host, Jason. Today we have a special guest. He went on our newest program, Communication and Cultures of the American Southwest in New Mexico. We have Chris Berger.
Yay!
Woo!
Thanks,
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Awesome. So first of all, how was your trip?
It was great. It was a really fun trip.
Awesome.
Over spring break, so it was a nice little week.
Yeah. So why did you choose the program?
Most because it was new,
Mm-hmm.
and it was over spring break, so it was a good time for me to do it during the semester.
Yeah.
In between working and school, I think it's a good spot to take a week off. Not off, but like a week away from the city, a week away from the rest of my semester here at work.
Well, and it's a nice 3-credit boost because
Exactly.
it's just a week and then you get your 3 credits, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so feel free to grab our travel stories box and we'll get started with our 2 words.
Okay, walking.
Okay, cool.
So we did a lot of walking in New Mexico. A little bit more about the trip. We did the first 2 days in Albuquerque. So we flew in. Actually, the first day we did a hike.
Oh, nice.
And the program coordinator wanted to go to, I believe, Petroglyphs National Monument, which is just outside Albuquerque. And it's basically you go in and it's a big hill made of rocks, and there's petroglyphs all over the place. So that was the first hike that we did first day as a group. Another day in Albuquerque, we did a bunch of museums. Then we made our way up to Ghost Ranch, which is where George O'Keeffe stayed for a while. It's a big highlight of the trip. It was just really cool. But at the ranch, there's a lot of places to hike. So we would spend a day, first hike of the day, go up the mountain.
Oh, nice.
A couple days in, we did multiple hikes in a day. It's like, all right, we have some free time. What does everyone want to do when we want to hike?
Yeah, what would you say your longest hike was?
I think it was called the Box Canyon Trail. That was really fun. It was kind of a free time thing. Like, you guys can do whatever you want. So a group of us decided to go on the hike, and we just kind of went as far as we could.
Yeah.
Enough time to turn around and come back for dinner.
Oh,
so
nice. Did they range in difficulty levels? Because I know sometimes when you go hiking, there'll be a green one that's easier, not as much incline, and then a red one that's harder.
Yeah, so they're all kind of the same, I think. I don't know. Maybe some were harder than others.
I don't know.
It was interesting, too, because you had to think about altitude. Because we were higher up in elevation than we are here, so you're walking up a hill, and you're out of breath at the top of the hill.
Oh, I bet.
It's fun, though. Hiking's always great when you're with a good group of people, and that's what we had. So
that's nice. Yeah, when I was abroad, definitely walking is just such a big thing. You're walking everywhere you go, especially since I was in Europe, and it's just a very big walking area, public transit.
You were in Dublin?
I was in Dublin, yeah.
So how is that? Like, is that a very walkable city?
It's pretty walkable, and I will say the transit there is awesome. There's a huge bus system, and it's a little confusing at first, but then you get pretty used to it. Nice. You can pretty much get picked up anywhere. It's really nice. And so it was really easy to maneuver the city, and I got used to it pretty quickly. I still don't even know the Philly bus system, so I don't know it at all. But Dublin, I was down. I'm okay, the 4 bus, the 9 bus, the 11 bus. I knew all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, but I would say my longest day of walking ever was when I was in Paris. I went to London to visit my friend from home, and we took the Channel to go to Paris for the day, and so we booked a flight out of Paris to go back to Dublin.
Nice.
So we had a day, and we're okay, not even a day, 7 hours. So we're we gotta hit all the major hotspots.
You want to see everything.
Want to see everything. So we dropped our bags off at third-party bag share.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. At some random phone store. Guy did not speak any English. Dropped it off. It was right by the Arc de Triomphe. So made our way there, took a couple pictures, got some food really quick, and then we figured out the transit system there. They have a really nice subway system. So we subwayed to the Louvre. Didn't go inside because we didn't have enough time, but got some pictures out there, walked through the garden that's right out there, and then we both lost phone service, and we had an appointment at 2 p.m. for the Eiffel Tower.
Were your tickets on the phone?
Yeah, and our tickets were on our phone. So I'm how the hell do we get there? I don't know how we're going to get there. So literally I just looked up in the sky. I'm okay, there's the Eiffel Tower. I guess we'll just follow that. It was our North Star.
Nice.
So we walked for, let's say, an hour and a half to the Eiffel Tower. And then by the time we got there, we made it just in time for our appointment.
Yeah.
Awesome, went up. And then we subwayed to Notre Dame Cathedral. And it was just such a whirlwind day because then we got back to Arc de Triomphe area, got our bags, then had to walk to bus terminal to shuttle to the airport that was 2 hours away.
Oh my god.
Then go to the airport, then get back. And Dublin Airport's huge, so it's a lot of walking when you're in there too.
Yeah.
And when we finally got back, it was just midnight the next day. I looked at my steps. We had 25,000 steps. My shoes were so worn out from that. I had been wearing them for so long that day. The sole, I'd sweat through it. because it just like disintegrated because we had been walking so long.
It was interesting because like in cities, like you feel like you're close to everything, and you feel like you can walk to everything. In New Mexico, especially when we were at Ghost Ranch, I mean, we're at Ghost Ranch for a longer period of time, so you don't necessarily feel the rush of like I need to see everything today. So that was a good, especially being on spring break. It was nice to kind of relax, like I can take my time and walk to whatever.
If you want to pick our next word,
empowerment. Okay, so the class was in New Mexico. The class was communication culture in the American Southwest. So, like I said, mentioned before, we went to a bunch of museums.
Yeah.
And in Albuquerque, we went to the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, which is a museum highlighting Pueblo culture in New Mexico, because it's indigenous people before white settlers and American settlers.
Yeah.
And even before the Spanish settlers in New Mexico. So it's interesting to see that and to be at a museum or a cultural center from their perspective.
Yeah.
Walking around the museum, the plaques were all like, this is what happened to our people, this is what happened to us. So it's very, very interesting to see the differences between a museum run by a community culture like that or a museum run by a government or state organization, something like that. So very interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. So for me, I would say I felt very empowered. I would definitely say I was very nervous to travel beforehand. And then being able to do all these things on my own, and I was very just proud of myself at the end of the day. And I think it's a really important thing to feel empowered while you're abroad, learning the history of things, learning the new cultures, and then, you know, sometimes you have a greater appreciation for where you come from, or you have a greater appreciation for now where you are. And it's a very interesting kind of thing to grapple with, like, when you are abroad, because there's so much there's like, and you were just in a study away program, but I know you also just studied abroad last semester, so you can probably speak on that as well. You're there for such a long time, but it does go by so fast, and you kind of, and like you come out the other side, you feel like you're the same, and then you realize you're very different at the end of the day, and that's what's a really cool thing about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, so I was in Rome last semester, did this program in Mexico, and I kind of went into both programs like not knowing a bunch about what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And like learning it while being there was a big part of me wanting to go.
Oh yeah.
So that was great, and like you do get back, and you're like, I feel like I could just go do whatever now.
Yeah.
I can travel. I can figure out a bus system or a subway or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is great for studying abroad. Like you come back and you're just feel like you can do anything, honestly.
Yeah. And did that like kind of prompt you more, like your first study abroad experience, to kind of go for this second?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was in Rome and I was talking to Hannah, our program coordinator, like about the process and the program. And I was like, I kind of just want to go to New Mexico now. Like I know I'm sitting in Rome, but I would really like to go to New Mexico right now.
Yeah.
Like you just think about it and it's a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, and because when you're in Europe too, it's so easy to travel from country to country, and here, like, our country's huge, so each state is almost like its own little country.
Absolutely.
And there's 50 states, so there's a lot that I know I haven't seen, and especially like on the West Coast, I really haven't been over there too much.
Yeah. That's what I was writing my reflection the other night, and it was like when I was in Europe, you get an appreciation for how diverse Europe is.
Yes.
Like I was talking to I solo traveled to Denmark. That's what I mentioned about empowerment too. Solo traveling is like
that's
intense.
a big that's.
I don't know. It scared me for a while. Like I didn't know I don't want to be with myself for that long. But he was like, Europe, and we were talking, he was like, Europe is so small, but each country, each region is just so diverse.
Oh, yeah.
And I got that feeling too when we went to New Mexico. The environment's so different because it's green and lush here. Here. But you go over there, it was rocky and orange, and it's beautiful, but it's just different. And the people are different. We landed in Albuquerque. I was writing about this too. We landed in Albuquerque, and the airport's called the Sun Port because it gets 300 days of sun. So it's different from here. People are more laid back, and it's great to see that in person, like instead of just reading about it in a book.
Yeah. So. No, I totally feel that. When I was on spring break, we had like we had 2 layovers. Well, they were like quick, so we were running, but one in Chicago and one in Phoenix.
Okay.
And very different vibe than Philly. It's just very interesting when you go somewhere, even, it's not even that far, it was like an hour flight, and like the other one was like a few hours, and very different vibe. The airport's set up differently. You look out the window, especially in Phoenix, I look out the window, mountains everywhere. So cool. I was like, wow, awesome. This is awesome. I wish I could stay here for a little bit. But yeah. So before we wrap up, I do have one more question. So why would you tell someone to do a study away program? Like, what do you think you got out of it?
Do it if you're watching and if you're debating. Absolutely do it. Whatever the program is, it's going to be a good experience. You're going to get to meet new people. I went into this program without knowing anybody else. I knew Jenna, but I barely know Jenna. So you meet new people and you kind of get to connect with everybody. This program was unique in a way too because we didn't really have cell service when we were. A lot of the time we didn't really have cell service or reliable cell service. So like we kind of were, I guess, forced. Not really the right word, but like we had each other, and so that was nice. So you meet new people, you get to experience new things, and you get to see new places, and that's really the benefit of study abroad.
Yeah.
You want to expand your reach, see the world. Please just do it.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. Do you have any final thoughts?
That was my.
That was your final thought. Well, this has been What's the Story. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome having you.
See ya.